Recently, I had a request from @TJG8675. He had watched a video that I had made on recreating the David Gilmour sound on sound effect using fractal modelers and wanted to know if I could revisit that with the Tone Master Pro. So I rewatched that video and had it figured out in just a little bit of time. The David Gilmour sound on sound effect allows you to more or less cover the beginning of Shine On You Crazy Diamond, part 1 through 5, all by yourself. No keyboards necessary. The most basic explanation is that in the analog world, you'd need 2 delays, a volume pedal, and 2 amp rigs. You'd play the G minor chord, then use a volume pedal to send the signal to 1 amp that has a delay with either a very long delay or a freeze function. You'd solo over the G minor using the other amp rig with a shorter delay until it's time for the chord change. Then you'd repeat that process. Okay, well, so how do we set this up? Well, when I did it for Fractal, I could only use 1 amp because I wanted to make sure that it ran on the FM3 as well as the FM9 and the XFX3. But we can run 2 amps on the Tone Master Pro with no problem. As a matter of fact, the Tone Master Pro can do much more than the FM3, and this video will reflect that. Time to open up Pro Control. Here's how my preset was put together. I used the Instrument Parallel 1 signal path. I started by adding the noise gate right before the path split because the guitar that I'll be using has single coil pickups which can get noisy. I'm using the default settings. After that, I put together the top path. I'm using the volume pedal which will only send signal to the top path. The bottom path will not be affected by the volume pedal. And since this is a Gilmour-ish type of preset, it only seems right to have both paths merge right before a big fat reverb. Okay, now let's see about what I used in each path. Starting out with the top path, I have the volume pedal, then the JC clean amp. I'm using the default settings. I follow that with the digital delay mono. Now, this delay may seem to be the most basic of the delays in the Tone Master Pro, but this is the only one that could do an endless delay loop without having the signal deteriorate. That really surprised me. I set the time to 420 milliseconds, then I set the feedback to 100%. That means it'll repeat forever. And since you'll be using the expression pedal to fade into this delay, you won't hear the attack of the pick. That's how you create the pad that you solo over. Mix is set to 100%. After the delay pedal, we have the stereo chorus pedal to help thicken out the sound a bit. Once more, I'm using the default settings. The top path is going to be used to recreate the sound of the original backing keyboard track, which was played by Richard Wright. The bottom path will be used for soloing. We start off with the Nashville Overdrive for just a little bit of dirt. Drive is at 22%, level is at 50%, spectrum is at 72%, and bass cut is turned off. We follow the Nashville Overdrive with the tube preamp and the British Jubilee clean amp. Why that particular combination? Well, David Gilmour uses high watt amps which are British, clean, and loud. He likes his initial signal to be very clean. The way in which Gilmour uses his system is that he always gets a good, nice, powerful, clean sound. A lot of his sounds are basically clean with a bit of delay, and when he does his overdriven stuff, he uses various pedals. To achieve this back in the day, he used a mid-70s Alembic F2B bass preamp and the power stage of 6 100-watt high-watt heads. So I'm using the tube preamp to replicate the Alembic preamp, and the British Jubilee Clean is the closest that we have to Gilmour's high-watt DR103 100-watt amps. The settings for the tube preamp are as follows. Gain, 51%. Treble, 37%. Middle, 58%. Mid-frequency is 2075 Hz. And bass is at 75%. The settings for the British Jubilee Clean are gain, 35%. Master, 59%. Treble, 14%. middle 44%, bass 74%, and presence 28%. Next is the 3D chorus using default settings. The delay I chose for the solo is the stereo tape echo. Time left is 475 milliseconds. Time right is 680 milliseconds. Feedback is 30%, and mix is 15%. Finally, for the reverb, I chose the large hall reverb, using default settings except for mix, which is set at 22%. I assigned expression pedal 1 to the volume pedal, and then I created 2 foot switches, one named freeze and the other named thaw. Here's why. When you use freeze, the expression pedal is used to add input signal to the top path, and you're basically freezing that signal, as it has no attack and loops endlessly. In order to stop the loop, you'll switch to thaw, which allows the frozen loop to fade out. Then you'll switch back to freeze to play the next chord in the sequence. These foot switches both use switch link group A, so when you hit one of them, the other will be off. See, freeze is on. Now if I hit thaw, freeze turns off. If I hit freeze, thaw turns off. Now you might be thinking, why not just turn off freeze instead of having a thaw foot switch? Well, if you simply turn off freeze, the loop ends abruptly, which is hard on the ears. The thaw foot switch has a feedback value of 30%, which lets the loop fade out. Now, I'm sure that there are other alternative methods, but this one comes very close to the analog method without even coming close to maxing out the Tone Master Pro. And the only thing that you need besides the Tone Master Pro is an expression pedal, well, and the single coil guitar of your choice if possible. To test it out, have your expression pedal pulled back in the heel down position. Press the freeze foot switch. Strum a G minor, then press downward on the expression pedal and leave it down for a half a second, then bring it back to heel down. You should now have a frozen G minor chord playing, and you can do your Gilmore soloing over it. When you're ready to change chords, press thaw but don't play anything. This allows the frozen G minor to fade out. Now switch back to freeze, hit the next chord, and repeat the process. I'll be using my Paul Reed Smith Silver Sky with the neck pickup. Alrighty then, let's demo this preset. Now this request was a lot of fun. I was able to put together a much better and much more authentic preset than I did for the Fractal modelers. Now, it's obviously not the most elegant way to play the intro to Shine On You Crazy Diamond, but it lets you do it and you can solo as long as you want and you don't have to worry about backing tracks. So, there is that. I've uploaded it to the cloud. It's called DB Gilmore SOS. Give it a try. Let me know what you think of it. And if you're still here, thank you so much for stopping by and sticking around. I really do appreciate it. If you have any other questions, comments, or suggestions, drop me a line here, and I'll get back to you as soon as I possibly can. Now, next Wednesday, I will be having all new content. You don't want to miss that. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button and ring that notification bell. All right, guys, have a fantastic week, and I'll be talking with you again next Wednesday.